Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining tonight. We've got a few minutes before our official start time, so we'll allow people to gather. And in the meantime, if you have this time, take it to have a little peace and quiet, a little stillness, perhaps some meditation or some breathing to settle in before we begin. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. As we're gathering, please say hi in the chat box if you have a chance. Just helps me to know who I'm spending time with this afternoon. Got just about another minute or so to get set up and settled in before we begin. Hi, Anne. Thank you for being here. Just to allow everybody ample time to log on and get comfortable, we'll just take a moment as you're settling in, or take your time settling in, gather up some breaths, put away your thoughts. We'll get started in just a couple moments. Welcome to have props nearby if you have them available to you, blocks or blankets or straps or pillows, anything that might make your practice more comfortable. And we are going to start standing. So let's come onto our feet and we will begin. So we're going to start facing the long edge of the mat tonight, a little non-traditional. We're going to step our feet out wide and stretch arms out wide. So we make a big star shape, star pose. We're going to start right there. And you can drop in by closing your eyes and just feeling as though the heart is the nucleus of this whole pose, and you're radiating energy out from heart to hands, to feet, to head, and that energy has a glow to it. It's got a light, a shimmer. And the more you reach and stretch out, the more that energy can expand. And start to add some breath that's worthy of this star shape. So big, full, shining, glittering, rich breath. Full lung capacity for one more breath here. Fill up the back of the lungs, the side of the lungs, the top and the bottom of the lungs. Feel the whole body expand. Good. And as you exhale, hug back into heart center. Blink the eyes open if they were closed. Feet stay planted. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to mirror you because of the way the camera is going to work tonight, but we're going to take right toes and point them forward, right toes. And so naturally that might allow the right hip to drop in a little bit and the left hip to pop back. So make sure it doesn't roll forward. Just keep it pointing straight back toward the back of the mat. We're coming into a little variation on triangle pose. So tip the torso then. Right pinky finger maybe comes down around the right shin or knee, and arms stay stretched open wide just as they were in star pose. And then without coiling the chest forward either, keep the heart center open wide and see if you can slide the right pinky finger down slightly and then slide it up the leg. And so it might just move an inch or maybe a couple inches, but we're just sliding in that lateral plane. Again, trying not to let the hips or the chest or the arms or the head curl forward. I see that a lot where we look down at our bodies to see what's going on and round the cervical spine and see if you can pull the sides of the throat back. Just nice and slowly slide up and down that leg a few more times. Tiny bend in the right knee so it's not locking out. And then come all the way back up through center. Pivot those right toes in, stretch the arms out wide. And then left toes point toward it's the back of my mat. Little bend in that knee. And we'll kick the right hip straight back and come into our triangle pose on this side. Good, so arms stretched open wide, shoulder blades gather together on your back. So as though the shoulder blades were wings and you could pull both of them back at the same time, like a big alligator mouth with your arms. And then slide the left pinky finger down the shin. And then slide up. And work slowly. We have a tendency to rush through things that are uncomfortable or challenging. And I find that I go much deeper into the posture and much deeper into the practice when I slow it down. And not to analyze it, but simply to kind of find my way through the weeds, right? Just exploring the depths of it. So working the lateral body here on the right side. And then we'll come back up to stand and pivot those left toes in. And then lift both sides of the waist up so the rib cage floats up off of the pelvis. Stretch your arms out wide and free up your neck. Find that big expansive star shape again. And then we're going to take the hands to the hips. Right toes will turn toward the front of the mat. And then left leg can kind of hop out wide to come into a pyramid shape. So I've stepped my left foot out a little bit so I can roll my left hip forward and square off to face forward. Feet are hips width apart. Start with hands on hips and push your hips back as you lean your chest forward. Again, we'll use a little bend in that front leg and in the back leg too, so that we're not locking out at the knee joints. So the right hip might want to start to curl forward. So give that right hip a little extra pull back, lengthen out the right side waist. And then we're going to take both arms back. So imagine you've got a strap across the front of your hips and you're pulling that strap back. And so both of your hips retreat toward the back of your mat. And then lift your chest forward and up like cobra pose. Keep the belly lifted. And so there's energy to be found in the soles of the feet here. We make that solid connection with the earth, then we have that solid strength coming up the legs. We'll keep the right arm back, reach the left arm forward. And now both sides of the waist get long and the hips mimic the arms here. So right hip goes back with the right hand. Left hip maybe pulls slightly forward with the left hand and reach your arms in opposite directions. Good. Take another breath. And then as we inhale, we'll let the right hand reach for the back of the left leg. Let the left arm come up by the ear. Take that upper arm bone back alongside your ear and open your chest to the sky. Try not to let the lumbar vertebrae, the low back collapse. So lift up and out of your low back, lift up and out of the back of your pelvis, and lean the shoulders back. Good. Stand upright and circle this left arm way back behind you so that your hands can clasp. Interlace your fingers and wrap your arm bones behind you. We'll take a little bow, still in that pyramid pose. So front leg straight, back leg straight. Spread your toes and see if you can reach your arms up overhead. And you might pause and float the chest kind of at that half lift point again. Or you may, if you have the flexibility and no tenderness in the low back or the hamstrings, fold down over your front thigh. The beauty of these online classes is that you can do exactly what is right for you with no judgment from anybody else, with no need to involve the ego to make it look like someone else or to fit in. Good. Well, as we rise up, let's bend the right knee so it comes up like warrior one. And then we'll take the hands behind the back, either in reverse namaste. So taking the hands and allowing the fingertips to swim upward on the spine and pressing the palms together. If that's too much, then clasp opposite elbows behind your back. And take the inner right knee forward in that warrior one stance, and also take your tailbone forward so the pelvis tilts upright there. But really roll the shoulders back, keep the chest open without pitching the belly forward. Another breath. Stay in the warrior one legs, reach the arms up by the ears, traditional pose, warrior one. Maybe even look up and see the palms come to meet. And then stay lifted in the upper body as you straighten out the front leg. Turn the right toes in. And bring your hands to your hips. All that on the second side now. Turn your left toes toward the back of your mat. Hands on your hips and step the right foot out so that two hips line up with that back edge of your mat. And then you can manually, using your hands, tip the front of your pelvis up and the back of your pelvis down. And you can also do that with your core, with your lower abdominals. Holding onto your hips, send them back behind you as you stretch the chest forward. So heart goes way out long, spine is long, and arms reach back. Good. Let the energy move from the soles of the feet all the way up the legs. All the way up the legs into the hips, and then let the hips pull back as though you've got that strap across the front of the hips, and the arms are drawing the hips back. Spending a little time to go into some of these deeper poses right off the bat, and we'll see how that affects a little bit of flow and fluidity after a while. Keep the hips back and start to take the right arm forward. So it's the opposite arm of that leg that's in front, and the left hip, see if you can pull that left hip back as though the left hand is stretching it back, and the right hip maybe pulls forward a little bit with the right hand, and reach the arms apart strongly. Good. As we rise, little bend in the knees, push down through the feet, let the left hand find the back of the right leg, let the right arm reach up and back, and let this upper arm bone draw back, so that'll start to peel open the right side of the chest too. So pull the navel into the spine. Circle this right arm back behind you. Clasp your hands together. So it's really easy to let the belly press forward here. Draw the front ribs in and create this column through the body. Interlacing the fingers, stretch the arms back behind you, and then take a bow. A bow of any depth. Really working here to feel the shoulders wrap behind the back and let the neck lengthen out of the shoulder girdle. With every exhale, maybe you feel the belly lengthen down over the front thigh. We'll keep the clasp of the hands, press down through the legs, come up strong into warrior one. So the inner thigh to inner knee presses forward. And it might not be your biggest, boldest warrior one because our stance is a little bit shorter, mine is at least. But that's okay. Feel how the hips can be at the center of it and you can really root down into your legs from your hips. And then we'll take the reverse namaste. So prayer hands behind your back, palms pressing together, if that's okay for your wrists and your elbows. Otherwise, just grab opposite elbows. And then kind of push your spine into your arms or into your hands. So again, you make that column in the torso of the body. That column that allows energy to flow freely to the limbs, to the extremities. One more breath. And as we release the arms and stretch them up overhead, simultaneously pull the tailbone down. Maybe let the palms join. Maybe look up into that little gap, the carpal tunnel at the base of the palms. Good. Stay lifted in all four sides of your ribs as you straighten your front leg and turn to face that long edge of your mat again. From here, let's exhale, hands down to the hips. Heel to the feet in just a bit more to a place that's comfortable for you to move in and out of a squat. So your squat might be here, or it might be a full garland malasana squat all the way down. And of course, you're welcome to stick something under your heels so that you really allow your body to rock back. You don't feel like you're pitched forward on your toes. Okay, so we'll move in and out of malasana with a big sun breath. From your squat, wherever it begins, inhale, reach the arms out and up. Full breath in. And as you exhale, shine those sun rays out and settle back into your squat. Again, big breath in. Long breath out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Pause in your squat. Elevate your spine. So lift from the crown of your head, drop through the tailbone, lengthen between each vertebrae. And then we'll fold. Fingertips come to the floor. We move into a rag doll. So start to lift the hips up and spin your toes in so that toes point to 12 o'clock, straight out in front of you. No more V in the feet. Keep as much of a bend in the knees as you like to allow your body to completely fall forward over your legs, and then bob it out. Shake your head, shake your shoulders, alternate bending the knees. And move this ragdoll around a little bit. Swaying it side to side or kind of flapping front to back. We'll spend a couple extra breaths here. We'll linger a little bit longer in ragdoll just to really let things drip off and shake out. I find that these days I collect a lot throughout the day. I collect a lot of thoughts and feelings, and it gets kind of heavy and burdensome. And sometimes just physically shaking my body helps me start to shake some of that loose. Good. And then we'll slowly roll up. So dig down into your heels, push down into your feet again. Feel that energy rise up the legs as you roll through the spine to come all the way up to stand. Lengthen out. And take your left leg behind your right leg, like a little curtsy. And then pull your hips back as you bend both of your knees. So instead of tipping forward, you're leaning weight back into your hips as though you were sitting back onto a ledge. Hands heart center. Good. So toes should not be, knees should not be in front of the toes. So you can do kind of a check there to see that the weight is drawing back and you've got that alignment to the central channel of the body again. And then we're going to twist left elbow over the front thigh. And maybe it touches, maybe it doesn't, but we're going to turn in the opposite direction of our front foot. And then swing your hips. Maybe you can see me push my hips a little bit out to my left and look toward your left. So we've got the spine making this snake shape. Keep the weight dropping back toward the heels, back into the hips. Turn your chest to the right as you swing the hips to the left. Good. Unwind. Come back through center. Shake that out for a sec. And then we'll go to the second side. The right leg will tuck behind the left leg. So I just allow the right knee to come into the back of the left knee. I pull my hips back. I lean weight back into my right foot, hands heart center. I'll turn my right elbow over my left thigh. And rotate my chest toward what's the back of my mat or to the left. And then I'll also kick my hips out to the right. So I'll kind of punch that right hip out. And I can kind of see it in my peripheral vision here. If I take my head in that direction. But stay long through the back of the neck, so no craning to lift the chin. Keep the chin down toward the shoulder. And just rotate through the cervical spine by gazing to the right. Sink the hips down and back. Turn the chest to the left. Good. And then unwind and come back to center and shake that out. So we're going to come back down into our ragdoll momentarily, and we're going to add a twist to it. Feet plant a little bit wider than hips width apart, and we'll drop down. So feel both sides of your spine lengthening here. After the twist, you might notice that you can lengthen out the sides of the spine a bit more. I'm going to take my left arm right between the gateway of my legs, and I'm going to reach it back. I've got a wall behind me, so it's like I'm going to reach to try to touch that wall, even though it's out of reach. I'm really going to slide that left arm back. And then I'm going to start to turn my chest to the right, and I can kind of lean onto my left leg and reach my right arm up into the air. So I can keep these open arms like this, or I can start to turn my palms as though my hands want to catch, and see if I can catch my fingertips together by wrapping up my left thigh. So it's not around my booty, it's down closer to my knee, wrapping around the thigh. And it's okay if your hands don't clasp. You can also just kind of hold your low back and keep turning your chest to the right. That left knee can stay bent, or it can slowly start to straighten, which will pull you a little deeper into the fold. If you have the bind, you might feel that work its way behind the left shoulder blade, rhomboids. Let your head hang. If you have the clasp, go ahead and release. Come through center, maybe pop up onto your fingertips or crawl your hands up onto your thighs for a moment. Take a little halfway lift and lengthen the spine. And then let's do the second side. We'll roll the belly down. Let the head hang. Take the right arm and reach it back between that gateway of the legs. Really reach it back so you kind of tuck your shoulder back to your inner thigh. And then lean onto your right leg and reach your left arm up. And that might be enough. There's twist in the spine there. There's inversion, getting that oxygenated blood to the brain. Or you may choose to add the shoulders, turn the hands so they face one another. See if you can create a loop around your right thigh. Maybe straighten that right leg. Allow the chest to drop down a little bit deeper. So we're really turning from the center of the body here. Often we think about reaching out through the arms, or kind of the twist or the turn and the pose happening on the external. Really, we want to feel from the very center of the body that turn happening. If you have the clasp, go ahead and release it. We'll unwind and come back onto fingertips, a little halfway lift, maybe hands to thighs. And then let's come down onto fingertips again if you came up, and widen the feet apart a little bit. So now it's more like prasarita, and widen your legs enough that you can get your hands easily to the floor, or use a block underneath your hands here. And I've got my toes turned in slightly. I'm going to take it side to side, just side lunge to side lunge, bending one knee at a time, letting the other leg go straight and really feeling the inner thigh lengthen. I've got a flat back. Fingertips are out underneath my chest, so I've got support for the upper body. Next time the leg that's at the front of the mat is bent, pause there in that side lunge. For me, it's my right leg. Lift your chest, drop your seat, anchor down through both feet. We're going to turn to face the front of the mat. So just walk the hands around that front foot. And look forward, keeping the back leg straight. Like the back leg is an extension of the spine. So we've got about a 90-degree bend or so in this front knee. We're low in this lunge. We want to keep that as we step the back leg forward. Come right into chair pose, arms up by the ears. So take a breath in here through the front body, all the way up through the arms. And as you breathe out, sweep your arms back by your sides and see if you can sit your hips a little deeper. Keep the hips that low. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And pause. Good. From here, we'll forward fold. Take the hands to the floor. Let the hips extend up to the sky. And then halfway lift. Breathe in. Right leg steps back. Right leg to the back of the mat. Turn to the side and start where we did with those wide prasarita padottanasana legs, hands underneath your shoulders, and just work side to side a little bit. Side lunge, side lunge. And it might feel better on your ankles or knees to turn your toes out slightly for this. So absolutely allow the alignment in your body so that all of these poses and movements are accessible and so that they work for you. And then the next time my left leg is bent, that leg that's toward the top of the mat, I'm going to pause there and get a little extra stretch for the right adductors. And then I'll turn toward the front of the mat, coming into that long, low lunge. So I've got this long stride. I'm pressing off the back toes, ready to lift the chest, almost like I was going to launch myself forward. Deep bend in the front knee, and you'll access more hamstring by pressing down through your heel here. So press down into your left heel at the front of the mat. And then we'll step the right foot to meet the left foot. Chair pose again. Hips go back, arms sweep up. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, sweep your arms back by your side. See if you can sit a little bit lower. Slide the knees back. Inhale, arms come up. Keep the hips low. Exhale, pause right here. Let's stand all the way at this time. Inhale, push the ground away. Upward salute. And exhale, forward fold. Hinge all the way forward over your legs. Halfway lift, breathe in. And then step your right leg back as you breathe out. Drop your back knee down. Start to pull the chest up away from the front thigh, as long as that's okay for your hands to leave the floor. And bring your hands to heart center. Take your right elbow across your left thigh. Remember the pyramid pose that we did in the beginning with the split arms, and that left arm reaching back was pulling the left hip back. Imagine that here too. You're turning toward your left. Allow that left hip to slide back. Unwind your twist. Hands come to the floor. Shift your hips back so the front leg goes straight. Hips are right over your right knee, and so if that feels a little congested, maybe wiggle the left leg out a little bit longer. Kick the toes up so the sole of the foot is flexed, and imagine you're going to pull that heel toward you and pull the femur bone into hip socket. Lift the chest if you took a bow. Bend into your left knee again, low lunge. Palms plant at the top of the mat. Right knee stays down on the mat. Left leg swings back. 3-leg table. You might need to walk your hands underneath your shoulders so that you've got a right angle at the arm and at the knee and at the hip. Now right arm's going to go out toward the front of the mat. Left leg is back behind. This is our inhale position, everything floating, lifting up. Exhale, tap the pinky finger of the right hand and the big toe down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. Inhale, arm and leg lift. Exhale, down. Notice my belly, my spine aren't changing. Inhale, lift. Comes from the glutes. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Right hand plants down. Left toes plant down at the back of the mat. Right leg goes up now. 3-leg dog. And you can roll the right hip on top of the left and bend the knee and stretch that hip pocket open. Head hangs between the arms. Good. Straighten the right leg and square off through your hips. We're going to bring the right knee and right shin to the center of the mat, almost like pigeon pose, but not all the way up behind the wrist, just kind of in the middle of the mat. And then we're going to turn to face the side edge of the mat again. So notice that my back knee bent as well. So I'm in kind of this mermaid or pinwheel shape with the legs. Left hand grabs the back leg, that left shin. Right arm reaches up and over, side, body. And then take your right elbow toward the front of your mat. Kick your legs out straight. Reach your left arm up and let your hips rise. Maybe just an inch or 2. Lower the hips down. Bend the knees in. And come all the way up and over. Left hand grabs your shin. Right arm reaches. And then right elbow to the floor. Let's do that again. Kick the legs out. Reach the left arm up and lift the hips. Hips come back down. Bend your knees. One more time. Side bend toward the back of your mat. And then elbow down. Legs kick out. Reach the hips up, reach the left arm up, snuggle the right shoulder onto your back. Hips go down, and swing this right leg toward the back of your mat. Come onto your belly, both forearms down. So starting in a little Sphinx pose here, elbows right underneath the shoulders. Lift the chest, and notice that the belly doesn't get left out, right? Lift the belly up a little bit too, and that's going to be a challenge because we're going to lift the legs. But see how much you can keep the belly button lifted as you take your right leg and stretch it up and back. And again, this comes from your glutes. So we're not bending at the knee. We're seeing if we can lift the thigh bone up. Push down through your forearms and pull your chest forward. Lengthen your right leg back. And lower down. Left leg, same thing. Lift up. Lengthen. Pull the pit of the belly up and in. Push the ground away with your forearms and drag the shoulder heads back. Good. Lower that left leg down. Now we'll do both legs. Both legs, just an inch or two. Pull the navel up and in and see if you can start to slide the arms back so the chest stays lifted without the support of the elbows. Lengthen through the back of your throat. Look down. Breathe in. And breathe out. Plant the tops of the toes down, hands alongside your chest, cobra pose. To downward facing dog. All that work in the back plane of the body gets all stretched out here in down dog. Let's look forward toward the hands and walk or step the feet up to meet the hands. Right into a halfway lift on fingertips. And fold back down into your legs. Stand all the way up. Sweep the arms up. Urdhva Hastasana, that upward salute. And then we'll fold right back down. Belly to the thighs. Halfway lift to bring the chest up and step the left leg back to the back of the mat. Back knee down. Hands come up to heart center. And legs have to squeeze. Inner thighs have to hug in for support. Left elbow crosses to the right thigh. And then you start to turn your whole rib cage. Right side ribs peel up and back. Left side ribs tuck under and through. Right hip goes back in space. Left hip hikes up. From here, we unwind and plant the hands alongside the front foot. Shift the hips back to that Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. I need to wiggle my right heel forward a little bit so I can get lots of length in the back of my right leg. And then lift up and out of the belly and the heart to pour forward. A little deeper stretch. Shift back into your low lunge. Sole of the right foot plants down. We'll keep the left foot down and sweep the right leg back to a three-leg table. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders and pull the front ribs up into the body. Left hand stretches out. Pinky down, thumb up. Yeah, inhale here. And as you exhale, just tap fingers and toes down. Inhale to lift. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Exhale, right toes down at the back of the mat, left hand down underneath your shoulder. The left leg is the one that's going to go up and back now, so that knee leaves the floor. Roll the left hip on top of the right. Free the front of the left hip. Let the hip slide open. Left heel kind of dangles down behind the body. We'll straighten that leg and square off through the hips. And slide the left knee toward the center of the mat and go ahead and sit on the outer left hip and turn to face the opposite long edge of your mat. Pinwheel mermaid legs here. So we're always side bending toward the back of the mat. Right hand grabs the right shin, left arm stretches up and over. And of course, there are so many dimensions that all these poses come alive in. So notice if you roll your chest forward, what happens, and notice if you lean the chest back, what changes. Take the left elbow forward, front of the mat. Take your legs out, so my right leg's back of the mat, left leg is side of the mat. And lift your hips up. And drop the hips down, bend the knees, side body stretch. Left elbow can peek up toward the sky. And open up the left side a little bit more. And then left elbow down, we'll engage that left side body, kick the legs out, lift the hips up. And down. One more time, bend the knees. Side stretch. And then the strong side plank variation, left elbow down, kick the legs out. Reach the hips up as though that right hand is pulling that right hip up on a string. Snuggle the left shoulder back. And release. Hips come down. Left leg swings toward the right leg, and we come onto forearms facing the front of the mat again. Sphinx pose. So an opportunity again to strengthen the back body, to counteract that curling in, that cowering. Lift the chest, peel the shoulders back, Sphinx pose. And then see if you can pick the left leg up. So from the top of the left thigh, and lift. And set it down. And then same thing, right leg. See if you can lift from the top of that thigh without rotating the leg in or out, right? Keep a nice long line from the hip down to the big toe mound. Set it down. Now pull the pit of the belly up and in. See if you can lift both legs. Get light on the elbows and start to slide the hands back into locust pose. Imagine you're holding a beach ball behind your back. Squeeze the sides of the beach ball. And then release. Tops of the feet down, hands alongside your chest. Cobra pose. Keep the shoulders back. And downward facing dog. Hips high. Head low. Breathe it out. Shake your head out a little bit. Notice if there's anything that's still clinging. Physically see what you can shake off. We'll walk the feet forward toward the front of the mat. Bend your knees as you do. Maybe cross your ankles. We're going to come right down onto our backs. So knees bent, feet on the floor. And allow your spine to lengthen out here for a moment. The shoulders to release back. Take a bridge pose. So maybe walk the feet in just a little bit more. The heels come close to the back of the hips and arms down along your sides. As you're ready, lift the hips by extending out through the tops of the thighs. Maybe crawl the hands, arms behind your back. Interlace your fingers. And then press that round part of the back of the skull into the mat. Feel that kind of open the throat, the collarbones. Release the clasp of the hands and lengthen the spine down. Feel the sacrum make connection. So we're going to keep the feet and the legs just how they are. We're going to do a little core work here. So we're going to lift the head up, shoulders up off the mat. Maybe support the back of your head if your neck is tender. We're going to take the left arm and reach it down like a side bend down toward the left toes. And if you can, maybe reach your right arm long by your ear. We've done a lot of side bending like that tonight. So right arm up and over your ear. And then come back through center and switch. Take your right hand down toward your right pinky toe. Maybe see if you can reach that left arm over your ear. So you're side bending while you're contracting in the core. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. One more time each side. Switch. And switch. Back to center, lengthen out through your spine, and then let the head rest. Good, arms down by your sides again. Bridge pose, round two. We'll lift the hips up. Maybe snuggle the shoulder blades and the upper arm bones behind you to lift the chest a little bit more. And breathe. So thigh bones get long, shin bones get long, neck gets long. Keep the inner thighs tractioning toward one another. So the thigh bones and the shin bones stay parallel. Thigh bones parallel to one another, shin bones parallel to one another. Good. Release the clasp of the hands. Let the spine come down to the mat. Let the hips land. And then take your feet wide, maybe as wide as your mat. And drop both of your knees over to the left. So again, we're in a pinwheel kind of staggered shape, but my left foot is nowhere near my right thigh. It's kind of out to the side. I'm gonna roll onto my left side a little bit more so that I can pick this right leg up and quad stretch. Grab the top of that ankle and pull the heel toward my outer hip. And then I'm gonna see if I can just take that back into that reclined position, keeping the heel close to the hip on the right leg. So if you did that extra quad stretch there, release that first. Maybe roll onto your left side again. And then come back up through bent knees and swish the knees over to the right. So my left hip is elevated here a little bit. That's okay. It's just a nice loose pinwheel shape. And you can stay right here. You might get what you need from this pose right here. My quads are feeling tight. So I'm going to roll onto my right side. Grab that ankle. Pull the heel close to the hip. So I've got a really acute angle in that left knee. And I'm just going to lay the left shoulder back down. So I'm opening up left quad, left hip flexor, even up into the psoas. That core chain of the body. Everything begins to slow down. And we start to collect our breath. Maybe feeling a little bit lighter after shaking things off, working things out. Stretching and releasing. You've got that quad stretch, release that first. Bring the knees back up through center. One more bridge pose. Heels right behind your hips, arms down by your sides. Let's lift off. If you want to take another variation, you might bend the elbows, you might support the hips by cupping the back of the hips with your hands here. But again, try not to let the knees splay. Extend the knees forward. Lengthen through your shin bones. And press the back of your head into the floor. For me, that makes all the difference in how this feels in my collarbones and my upper chest. Go ahead and release. Long spine, hips down, and pause. Oftentimes we rush right into the next pose, and I'm guilty of that too, but what comes after the pose, that flush, that rush, is often just as good, if not better, than the pose itself. Now we'll tuck the knees into the chest. You can rock a little side to side. If it would feel good in the hips to take a happy baby, go ahead and bend the knees 90 degrees. Let the thigh bones come down alongside the torso and let the soles of the feet face the ceiling. Drop the knees into the chest again. Hug the inner thighs together. Wrap your arms around your knees. And then release. Legs stretch out long. Arms extend away from the body. And maybe start this Shavasana with eyes open. Just gazing up at the ceiling. Gazing not to see anything in particular, not to focus our vision, but just to be right here, present in this space, in this moment. Slowly start to let the corners of the eyes, the corners of the vision get blurry. Start to narrow the vision in on one spot. And eventually close the eyes. Feel the body sinking heavier and heavier into the floor. Release the weight of the day. Knowing that when we rise in a few moments, we take with us only what we need to move forward. All of the rest of the clutter we leave behind. Before we move, prepare to move by deepening the breath. Resisting that tendency to jump right back into where we left off. Instead, let's start anew from this new place that we've created. Wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe eventually stretch out into that star shape that we started in, but here a little more restorative on our backs. Legs go a little wider, arms stretch out wide. Good, and then one long line with the body. Let the feet come together, let the hands come together overhead and stretch. And then knees to chest, tuck in. You can roll to your side, or you can rock right up to your seats. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's a joy to get to do yoga alongside you, to have some friends to do yoga with. So thank you. Namaste. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me a chat or send me an email. Otherwise, have a great day.